Okay, so more patterns at the Evergreen Open. This time we're going to talk about some thrusty patterns with Jesse, how they land and how they don't. And then we'll highlight some cool stuff with Jesse at the end. Um, so let's look over this. This first one is the first exchange here, which we land a thrust. We land a couple of this exact same thrust throughout, and we also miss a couple of this exact same thrust throughout. So it's going to be a fun way of comparing when things go well and when things don't. So let's start off with this first exchange. Nice. All right, so if we ignore the sword flying out of my hands, we can see that we stepped out a little to the side, and then we start harassing Jesse's hands here, and he comes right back, gives it right back to us, which is great. You can see there's the first cut there, and then as he's recovering, that's when we launch there. And the nice thing about that for me was that as he was recovering out of that, he actually starts coming. Oh, no, a little farther. Yeah, there we are. If we watch his feet down here, I'm just going to highlight their position. Oh, no. Okay, we'll have to use his knee position because there's all this stuff in my way down there. And then we can start scrolling forward. You can see that his foot down there advances towards me as I'm thrusting, which is great. That puts him a little bit closer. That's one of the reasons this one landed so hard. But because of all that hand sniping that we were playing early on, we were able to bait him forward. See, even his knee comes forward a little bit. That's great. We were able to bait him forward and then capitalize on that moment to make that thrust happen. I didn't respond to it, but because we were harassing each other's hands, he was coming forward anyway for his next thing, and that's when we caught him. So this is a good tactic to work on there. Look for those moments when they're stepping in and can't move out. Thanks, Alex Hanning, for all of the drills on that. Really appreciate it. Let's move on to the other successful thrust in this, and then we can start looking at what I didn't do on those other two. All right, from the first exchange to the last exchange, here we go through here. This one's a little bit different. Boom. So there's our hit right there. Nice and big. We're going to talk about the finish of this one in a second, but the start of it, since we're already here, this one is kind of the opposite. Instead of trying to set him up so he's moving in, we just don't give him time to set up. We eat a little extra distance coming in by moving out to the side here to disguise our advance. And then once we've got that done, we just immediately launch before he has time to settle and start thinking about things. And because he hasn't quite had time to think about it, we're able to sneak a little closer. I think I also just sent it way harder with this one. It was the last exchange of the thing, and I really wanted it, so I just jumped real hard, and that worked in this case. Again, based on the flex I'm seeing in this blade, I didn't need to bring this second foot forward. I could have just stopped here, and that would have given me better exit options, which we are going to see as the exchange continues. Let's go ahead and play it. You can see that Jesse's sword comes over the top of mine and down in. It's not an especially powerful attack, but it does hit me, and that's unacceptable in any capacity. So because that got hit there, there's definitely better ways I could have dealt with that. If I had had a little more range, it would have been easier to keep track. So if I hadn't brought that other foot forward so hard, or if I had just kept... If I had pushed my hands higher to the outside over there or something like that, or even just kind of came up into a bicorner or something, I might have had a better chance of keeping him off of there. But instead, I just kind of sent it in, and that works for this format, but it's not especially good for what I want to do. So there's that there. Those are two successful ways that we've had it. We had set them up with harassing shots so that they're coming in, and then we can hit them there. Or don't give them time to settle and really send it to make that work. Things that we could have done better. I think in both cases we could have exited better. And in both cases we probably could have stayed a little farther away. So we'll work on that for later. But let's go look at the ways that we didn't succeed at this and see if we can figure out why. All right, let's take a look at this, guys. This is one of our first failed thrusts. Boom. Over the top. Bop. Hit in the head. Cool. Why we get hit in the head on that one? So we come forward here, similar to the last one we looked at. No setup. Notice though, I've settled, he's settled. We both know we're in the fight now, so he's more mentally prepped to react to stuff. I'm going to try and sneak in, it looks like. Sneak in, sneak in. And then right here, I decide to make my thrust. At this point, Jesse's fully squared up. He's all ready to go. I've got my push off here. It looks like, though, I'm ready to lean forward and launch that out. I'm in range for that. I don't even really need that second step again, but it looks like thrusting from inside distance is going to be a consistent theme here. And then as we launch, you can see that it looks like we just kind of miss. So we come a little bit off to the side here, but that's probably Jesse pushing us off this way over here. So he manages to make that parry, and because I've committed so hard forward and I've already moved this leg, I don't really have recourse to stop or change direction. At least I'm not that cool yet. I could have done something here. If I had been ready for it, I could have sunk down a little bit better and swung out to be ready for this incoming counterattack that's almost certainly coming around to this side because of how much pressure we have over here. And, you know, I have the benefit of hindsight where I know exactly that that's what's happening. And then the last thing here is that in my recovery, I'm pushing my hand, I'm letting my sword fall back this way, and I'm pushing this up. Now, if I push this up more aggressively, straight into Jesse, and tried to knock him off his feet or like come up with a pommel underneath, that would have been better. But Jesse had pretty good structure there, and I was just kind of like, whee, on for a ride this way. So as we continue through, Jesse cuts around to the outside there, pegs me in the head, while my sword hangs uselessly behind me and my pommel is too far away to do anything useful. I probably should have wrestled here, but again, it looks like I'm going for a ride this way, and I'm having issues arresting that and turning into him to make any of that work. So in this one, gave him too much time to settle, and didn't do anything to kind of break that pattern. So he wasn't trying to come in for an attack, and he wasn't newly settled on his feet. He was just chilling, and when he's just chilling, I didn't have that opportunity to come in because he had plenty of time and mental capacity to react. I think we're going to see a similar thing go on in this next failed thrust. Yeah, almost exactly the same thing is going on in this exchange. We can see that I come in here, everybody sits down, has a cup of tea. I'm nice and settled, looking for my opening. Jesse's nice and settled, waiting for me to do something. And then as soon as I jump, he's already, you saw that little shift backwards. Shifts back. Haven't landed yet. You can see there's a little bit of space between where my sword is and his body. A little closer. Pen's limited. And his sword's right here, ready to shove off that way, like it was before. And then he comes around and hits me on the other side. In a similar vein, I've overcommitted this way, and I'm not ready to stomp on this leg to arrest that motion and move somewhere else. So I carry through, land here, and just kind of keep running. This, again, my sword has uselessly gone up and behind me, and this is even worse this time because of the amount of distance between our hands here. I don't have any levers to push on there. If I had thrown a second cut faster down this side or all the way up and under the body, maybe that would have been better, but I did not have the presence of mind to do that. So just kind of went straight through, got bonked in the head, and then threw a cheeky afterblow because what you gonna do? So this again emphasizes the importance of setting the thrust up, making sure that they're a little off their feet so they're not ready to move in a direction, or their sword is way out of position, one of those two. Let's go look at a different technique that we landed from, I think, a really similar setup now, and maybe something I should have done more of in this fight. Nice. Now this one was also from Raw, but because the technique was different, things went a little differently. So sitting here on the left shoulder. Okay, so the step is a little bit there, but that's okay. We're mostly settled in a neutral here. And then instead of deciding to throw a thrust off this left Donna, I decide to throw a little shield how off to this side over here, which was fun. The nice thing about that is that even if he's ready and parrying, he's just going to kind of push it into himself a little bit more. I really like throwing this off the left. I think it mixes up with the thrust really nicely. And I don't mostly practice out of the German sources, so I don't have to do it canonically correctly. Anyway, so as that's coming through there, let's frame by frame that. So there's the cut coming down. Oh, I thought it was a shield how, but it looks like it's just an overhow. Cool. Yeah, just a regular overhow. Cool. No problems there. Just a good little Mindrito down the pipe. I think if I had thrown this more often, though, it would have been better for me, because you can see that same hands up sword pushing thing that would have worked on the last one on the thrusts doesn't work so much here. So using those more settled openings for cuts works out great. It looks like I committed less, and I think that was more of a mental thing than a plan thing, in that I'm throwing a cut. I don't need to commit as much, or I need to be ready for the next thing. Because you can see I have the, oh, no. Never mind. None of that. I just run through in both of these. So plenty of commitment. Just worked out better that way because of the structure of the attack. I do think that Jesse, we were playing some footsies out here, and I think that I do catch him just thinking about coming forward as I go to cut out. You can see here he's advancing a little bit. It's pretty hard to tell. He settled a little bit. I don't think he really caught him forward, but I definitely caught him still. He wasn't rocking back as much as he was. Nice head movement, by the way. Good thought to get that out of the way, and good just awareness on that front. So I think that more of this kind of attack would have served me well here, since I wanted to hit him from raw. There is a cool exchange from Jesse that I want to bring up, so we're going to pop over to that, and then we'll probably be done. Okay, so Jesse has a couple of these exchanges. He just keeps really good pressure, and basically just kind of beats me at my own game, where I'm getting lazy, thinking I'm out of distance, and he says, "Nuh-uh, I'm going to jump right in there and get you." So let's take a look at this first one. Cool. See, we got a nice little parry off there. I'm like coming up here, being an annoying jerk, taking a little light cut to the hands. Jesse says, "I'm too smart for that." Cuts around. That cut gets parried, but he immediately transitions into another thing. So I go for another one. He's ready for that. Transitions around, makes that cut. I fail the parry. I don't get it up in time. That lands nicely. And then we try and throw one more cheeky cut out, but he's already at a distance. Very nice. Like, really cool stuff. This kind of mirrors why he was able to deflect those thrusts so well, is that he's doing a great job of keeping pressure in and attacking into those openings when they do show up. And did a really good job of that. And it was a pain in the butt. Made me work for it. Great. So that's about it. Great fight, Jesse. Super fun. And it's always nice to see that I'm doing the same thing over and over again in a fight. So thanks for the lesson, and we'll catch y'all next time. Bye.